This is Suit Up Sports. Suit Up Sports. Where opinions are as sharp as a tailored suit. No fluff, no gimmicks, just unfiltered, hard-hitting takes on sports and a whole lot more. It's time to suit up. Now here's your host, DJ the Suit Stout.
Welcome to Suit Up Sports. I'm DJ the Suit Stout, along with 10-year NFL vet Frank Garcia. Frank, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Great weekend. Thankful to be here on Monday and still alive after what my liver's gone through starting Thursday night with the college football. Friday night just carried over with another great game. Maybe not as good as the one on Thursday, but the weekend games, including the Panthers, was arguably one of the best weekends in the playoffs we've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, we had, 3 road teams win out of the 4. We had quarterbacks put their teams on their shoulder. We had great defensive play. I mean,
drama. We had last-second comebacks. We had close games. There really wasn't, a blowout per se. And like you said, when road teams are winning, it's always going to create a little bit more drama.
Yeah, and that just shows you the parity in the NFL right now. Like, we went into this playoff going, I mean, really, there's not a team that you would just say, yep, they're the team to beat. Because we would say Buffalo, who was playing on the road in the first round, maybe they're a team to beat, but they got to get back up to Jacksonville team. And then you saw that, the Patriots last night, who a lot, including myself, questioned, they really haven't played a tough schedule. Drake's been fantastic, but a lot of his touchdowns will come against the worst placed teams in the league. They're going to play a Chargers defense, which is really, really good. And, not to start with that game, but we saw Drake May make plays when he had to. We saw a defense get all over Herbert, which has been, he's been sacked 55 times this year. So you're right. I mean, I thought the games this weekend were all at least enjoyable, whether you had a dog in the fight or not.
It's really interesting. Something you just said right there kind of caught my attention is about the quarterback play. And I know, we're going to talk about Bryce and the Panthers and, you just mentioned Drake May and, guys like, Josh Allen and
Trevor
Lawrence and, just the quarterback play, Matt Stafford as well.
Yeah.
Some really good quarterback play, but I think ultimately what stood out was the guys that could put their team on their shoulders were the ones that were able to prevail and win games. And what's interesting is the debate that's going on here amongst Panther fans with the game that we saw. Is Bryce Young that guy? Because at times he looks like he's just calm, cool, and collected. Nothing's going to bother him, and he delivers strikes just like he would if it was a practice field. And at other times, it just looks like not necessarily that he's not good, but he's not athletic enough. He's not big enough. He's not physical enough. He's not strong enough. He doesn't have that Josh Allen takeover when you need it. And what's interesting to see is when we get to the playoffs, these are supposed to be the best of the best. Even though half the league gets in, and you talk about parity, what's going to separate good from great? And I think that when you look at guys like Josh Allen, guys like Matt Stafford, who's going to be the MVP, Drake May, who is in the discussion for MVP, those teams are winning games because of their play specifically, in my opinion, in those key moments when the game is on the line. They bring their team back. If you saw that Jacksonville-Buffalo game, it was back forth. Trevor Lawrence played well for the most part, but it came down to it when he needed to answer turnover. When he needed to make a play, he did, almost enough, but it wasn't just that final push. And it's just like you and I going back to back, and matching 3-point shots. Who's going to be the guy that blinks, right? And sometimes it might not be that you're better than me. It just might be your day. And that's what's going to be interesting to kind of debate today and, throughout the rest of the playoffs.
Well, I'll say this, and we'll jump into the Panthers and Bryce Young, but I will say if we were to pick an MVP of just this weekend's games thus far, I think Josh Allen, I mean, he got his ankle blown up. He got his head blown up a couple times. He had to go in the tent a couple times, and he just proves why he is the best player in the NFL. And you talk about a quarterback that puts his team on his shoulder and wills a win. But on the flip side of that, there's only a handful of those guys, right? Yeah. So there's only a few teams in the NFL that are lucky enough to have that guy. And back to the Panthers in the Ram game, I thought Bryce played a really good game. I thought that he started off slow. He had the one bad interception, but I thought he got into a groove. I thought he made some damn good plays.
Very first play of the game.
Yeah, and I thought he made some damn good plays with his legs. He had the great scramble for a touchdown. He finished 21 for 40 for 264 yards, 1 touchdown pass, 1 run, and an interception. But
correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen so much football over the weekend. But wasn't the first play interception?
If it wasn't the first, it was early on.
Yeah, okay, it was early.
Yeah.
On. I might be thinking of the Oregon. Indiana.
That was the first
where
one.
The first
play
was a pick six.
100%. Yeah.
So I got convoluted there with my thoughts, but okay. But yeah, I remember now, that Saturday night game with Bryce, and yeah, he started off slow, but I think that's kind of what I'm talking about, is that there's really no lulls in some of these other games, and DJ, the object is to make the playoffs, of course.
Sure. Everybody
wants to do that, but the objective ultimately is to do what? Win championships. And in order to compete against the Mahomes, the Allens, the Staffords, the Mays, what is going to separate you? Because if all things are equal, that's going to be the difference maker. And if that's not going to be the key factor, then you better be superb. You better be dominant on the defensive side. You better have an incredible pass rush. You better have the best offensive line that can knock guys around and move guys all over the place.
Well, I think, and we've talked about this all year, when I watched the game against the Rams Saturday, and again, Bryce brought us down, scored a game-winning what we thought could have been a game-winning touchdown with 2 minutes left. But I think that what this game proved to everybody is what we've talked about is, number one, the Panthers arrived early to the dance, right? We weren't necessarily ready for the playoffs. We all know the holes that this team has had all year long. And one thing that you and I talked about on Friday was that Sean McVay is such a good coach that he is going to take advantage of those holes. And that's exactly what we saw. And I wrote down what the Panthers need as far as priority, in my opinion. And you and I are pretty much on the same page. First of all, we have no linebackers. We know that. Roseboom makes some plays here and there. He hustles. He's usually a solid tackler. But for the most, if you looked at Stafford's yardage, and I can't remember what the final stat was, but I know at one point in the game, he had like 280 yards. I think he finished with 304, but only 10 of those yards were to the outside of the field. Why? Because we have 2 damn good cornerbacks. Everything was up at the middle because we have bad linebackers and we have a safety in Nick Scott who does make some plays. And I thought the 15-yard penalty when he drilled Adams, I know the NFL is going to call that, but I thought that was a pretty damn clean hit. But regardless, you saw our holes on defense are pretty much up the middle, right? We need linebackers. We need another safety. We also know that we have no pass rush. Stafford had all day. The one time we did get to him, we broke his finger or whatever, and I think he was 1 for 11 for a period of time after that. But it was so inconsistent of us getting pressure on him that he had all day long. And when you give a guy like him, who's going to be the MVP with the weapons he has, you can't give him all day. And so there's another need that we knew going in that surfaced. The touchdown pass, even to win the game to Higsby, I was watching an article where they said McVay had seen the way we had played that same play twice, so he knew that they were going to have a good matchup with him on Morg. And Morg was on him. I mean, the kid made an unbelievable catch.
Was it Morg or was it Shao Smith?
No, that was Morg on him. Smith came in when Horn went out with, I guess, was a concussion. They never really said exactly what it was.
That was the difference at the end of the game. Maybe the way the defense was playing compared to what they were, during the most part of the game. But listen, the Rams had their way for the most part with the Panthers. As you point out, when Stafford got his finger hurt, there was a little lull where they were punting, handing the ball off, waiting for that. But then when they needed to, they did really pretty much anything they wanted over against us. And Puka Nacua, just dominated the middle of the field. And when it wasn't him, they were using him as a detour and then using Adams underneath or one of the tight ends. But ultimately, they had their way with the heart of our defense. And I know you've been around sports your entire life, and I don't care what sport it is, when it's a team sport and your defense is involved. If you're not strong up the middle, you don't have a great defense. I don't care if it's baseball. I don't care if it's football. Yep. I don't care if it's basketball. If you're not strong in the middle, you're going to create holes because people eventually are going to be able to break you down with athletes and expose the middle of the field. And the middle of the field, is where the money's made. Yeah. Right. And I think that was the biggest difference in this game between the Panthers and the Rams. You look at the end of the game when the Panthers needed to move the ball, right? What were they doing? They're throwing the ball to the outside. They had to be, and partly going back to what I was saying earlier with Bryce, is he the guy that ultimately is going to get us a championship? Are we going to win an NFL Super Bowl with him as our quarterback? And we can have a lot of other good things, and all these other pieces you're talking about can be there, but is he going to beat Josh Allen? Is he going to beat Drake May? And for me, the answer is no. Why? And it's not a knock on Bryce per se, because he's still a good player and he played very well and he looks like he deserves to be a starter in this league. But ultimately, he has a ceiling, and his ceiling is going to be playoffs. And maybe he's going to win you a game, but he's not going to win you 2 or 3.
See, I would argue this, and I'm not going to sit here.
Let me say the reason why I say that.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that is because at the end of the game, when they needed to expose the middle of the field, Bryce can't throw those balls, right? Because why? He just can't see over the interior of the line. So everything he does is to the outside. He throws those passes very well. If he has a pocket, right, then he is able to step back and put a little touch on the middle of the field. But the Rams were giving us the middle of the field just like we were, and they were baiting us to.
We weren't giving it to him. We just don't have the talent to
we don't have the talent to take,
yeah.
and we don't have the talent to take advantage of it either.
But here's what I'll say about Bryce. I'm not going to sit here and say that I think Bryce is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But what I will say is this: he's gotten better each year of his 3. He had the same offensive coordinator this season than he did last for the first time in his career, and he's going to have the same guy again this year in Canales. And I think Bryce does have the potential to get us into the picture. Now, again, and by the way, we talk about quarterbacks putting the team on their shoulder. His record of game-winning drives is the best in the NFL, and he almost had another in this game. And
regular season, not playoffs.
Okay, well, he almost had one in these playoffs. And I want to ask you about prevent defense that we played, because that's been a hot topic, because Bryce did lead us down on a great drive, gets us down there. We scored a touchdown with 2 minutes left. But I'm sure every Panther fan felt the same way that we did when we scored, was that they got to get a touchdown. However, they got Matt Stafford. They have all these weapons, and our defense is probably not going to be able to hold them. And a lot of people are giving Evero a lot of crap about why did we play prevent defense on that last drive? Was it even prevent defense? What do we do differently? What were your thoughts on that? Because that's been a hot topic.
Well, I mean, my initial take when I was watching the game is that because our guys like Rosenboom are liabilities in the middle of the field, right? You're most of the time having to blitz him some way, shape, or form. You're trying to create a mismatch. He's not good enough to line up at the close to the line of scrimmage and get depth and be able to make plays. He's not athletic enough to beat guys one-on-one. So you're just going to use him as a piece to get somebody else available or open one-on-one matchup. And the issue right now is we don't have that guy that can beat a guy one-on-one. We don't have a Bruce Smith. We don't have a Reggie White. We don't have a
Benito or
Allen, Jared Allen,
yeah.
Or just name the elite TJ Watt. We don't have a guy that if they isolate him in a blitz is going to win a one-on-one battle consistently or in a big moment. We just don't have that guy on this roster. So Evero, he's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I can't. What do I do? In my opinion, what should have happened, and I know I hate this thought, but with the time left in the game, no timeouts for the Rams. They had to go down and get a touchdown to win the game. They had to drive the field to do it. You're just giving them pitch and catches in the middle because you're bringing your backer and you're leaving those underneath routes with backs standing off 10 to 15 yards from the line of scrimmage, right? The issue is if you bring those guys up and you blitz those linebackers, you're susceptible to getting beat deep, right? You're susceptible to that all game. But in my opinion, I don't know why you would change what you were doing in those situations, because if you understand your personnel, it's stats be gone.
Yeah.
Right. Because everybody wants to play analytics. Well, this is what you do. You drop back, you make them play, you hope for a tip pass, you hope one of your guys up front get a sack, and you hope those things weren't happening. So you have to understand the ebbs and the flows of the games. And that's where Evero is learning, to develop his team. He's in a tough position because he doesn't have the playmakers to go out there and make those plays. So what do? Do I blitz? Do I sit back? Do I blitz? I know my safeties are terrible. I have a young corner that
Well, Morig's good.
I have a young
but that's one good. Yeah, the other safety can't cover.
Scott had the worst grade, the second worst grade on the Panthers team.
I mean, he had the interception opportunity that Nakua made, actually the best play he probably made all game when he knocked it out of his hands, which would have been game over.
He had the second worst grade on the entire team at like 45.
Yeah.
The only person worse was Shi Smith, and they had 4 targets at him, and they had 4 completions and a touchdown given up. J.C. Horn going out destroyed, because Michael Jackson, he had the highest grade.
Yeah.
And, I have to give him a lot of credit, because early in the season, you and I were back and forth with our corner. I mean, I didn't know who this guy is. Where is he from? We know now.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? Good for him. I root for guys
like that.
I root for guys like that. He scored a 91.
Yeah.
I mean, he defended passes. He had interceptions. He has become a playmaker. And in my opinion, he had a better second half of the season than J.C. Horn did.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
And, the guy earned a spot and has become a legitimate starter. That's good for the Panthers.
No question.
Now you have 2 guys, right, that when healthy. J.C. Horn gets hurt a lot. We all have seen that throughout the season. And in the biggest moment in the playoffs, where's he at? Nowhere to be found.
And I think it was our own player that basically hit him in the chin.
He's out.
It was a fluke play.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Some guys are injury susceptible. Some guys are built like NASCARs and can take the chipping paint and you just patch it up and go. Other guys are like speed cars. You get a little dink and you have to take the car off the track because he'll fly off the road. So that's kind of like J.C. Horn. He's not a NASCAR. He's a sprint car. So, what do you do with these guys? I mean, but the bottom line is we have 3 pretty good players. Morgan, I agree.
Yeah.
He plays the run very, very well. Unfortunately, plays a little out of control at times. Right? He needs to learn how to slow it down to speed it up. Right? Controlled aggression is what we call it.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to learn how to play with more controlled aggression. But, for those 3 players in our secondary, we're not bad. We were able to get some interceptions. We were able to get some tip passes. We were able to get some PBUs and make some plays. Unfortunately, we got exposed at the safety, and our drop off from when Horn goes out to the next guy is like an 8 versus a 2.
Yeah.
This guy shouldn't be in the league, right? And every time they went against him, it was easy pitch and catch. And I don't care who it was. I know the Rams receivers are really good, but to answer your question about the prevent defense, what do? I think you just, either you do one of 2 things. Either you zero blitz and try to, make a play at times, or you drop 8 and only rush 3 and hope Stafford's going to make a mistake. Right, because he's not the most mobile guy, and eventually, if you're dropping guys, you're bringing guys, you're sugaring up at the line and then dropping back. You create you could still create those matchups that you were looking for by blitzing that linebacker, but at least you have another body in space, and those underneath routes aren't going to be there, because now you can drop those linebackers and see the crossers and maybe anticipate, but at least it makes Stafford hold the ball a little bit, where hopefully one of those guys can get him off his spot. Because when he's on his spot, and what I mean by on his spot, he's sitting back there in the pocket, lining up. He's as good as they come. But when he has to move off his spot, he becomes an average quarterback. And that's what I would have probably done more likely. But I would have also switched it up with a zero blitz every now and then if they started getting some momentum. The other thing you could have done is call timeout, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that you could have changed to momentum, at the end of the game, to understand that, hey, listen, this is it, guys. This is it. You want to move on. We can beat the team that might be the best team in the NFL right there that we're playing.
Yeah.
And we can upset and shock the world, because nobody gave us a chance. Nobody. We're 10-point dogs, the biggest underdog in the history of the NFL for a home playoff game. 10 points.
Yeah.
Right. And the Panthers played their asses off, and what the city appreciated that. I don't know if you saw after the game, how many fans stayed around to applaud that effort. And they know, like you do and we do, that they're not quite there, but they gave a game and they played their asses off.
Well, and you're totally right. I mean, number one, the city of Charlotte, we always say this, when we have a product to pull for, this city shows up as well as any city in the country, and they do. And that, we watched the game on TV, but we had a ton of people that were there that were texting us videos and saying, dude, this is electric. This is unbelievable. And you heard the players talk about it after the game. So the fans in the city of Charlotte showed up as they always do when they have a product worth cheering for. The one thing I'll say about the defense in Evero is that that's the kind of defense we play. We play the bend, don't break, right? And I believe, because I think Evero is a good defensive coordinator. I know there's guys out there going fire him, but in his career, when he's had players, he's top 5, top 10 defense. Now, he didn't have players. Last year, he had no players. This year, we added some players, and we saw we're young. We saw our defensive rank go from 31 to 15 or whatever. And again, our holes, and you tell me if you agree, I think we both agree that linebackers have to be addressed right away.
We're getting exposed at linebacker. 200
of the yards that stepped through for 304. Nakua had 111. A lot were up the middle. Their tight ends combined for 89 yards. So that's 200 of the 300 yards right there that were killing us, which in a position where we knew. Also, he had all day on his spot because we don't have a good pass rush. So the two biggest holes on defense that we knew we had showed up, and we fought our asses off, but there's only so much you can do as a defensive coordinator to mask that, especially when you're going up against an offense like the Rams, a coaching staff like the Rams. So, to me, that last drive, I agree, we could have been more aggressive here and there, and I know they asked Canales about it.
Or you could have sloughed off and see, because here's what happens, DJ, when you blitz, right, and you bring a linebacker and you bring him from depth. The quarterback can see those things very clearly. Here comes a backer, right? That vision changes. It comes here. He locks on his peripheral to see that guy coming. He knows that's the hole of the defense. He has to go calculate quickly and diagnose, okay, this is the routes we have. Who's going to be in that hole? Boom, there it goes. But when that guy blitz, his eyes go to that, and a lot of times I'll have Nakua running underneath or Adams, breaking off their route to run that hot route or that dig or a tight end that just kind of delays dumps to where that blitz is coming, and you vacate that area. That's where quarterbacks are going to throw, and they ate us up because we don't have in our secondary. Morg is not a great cover guy. He's a better run guy, and Scott is just lost out there and doesn't have the athleticism or speed to keep up with any wide receivers, let alone tight ends. Or tight ends, let alone wide receivers. So they're just exposing us when we blitz that linebacker.
Well, before the game, we said that as a Panther fan, regardless of what happens, and none of us wanted to get the crap beat out of us, right? We wanted at least to make it competitive, and we did. But the thing that, and I know I said
we
Friday,
had a chance to win that game.
With 2 minutes
very
left,
good chance.
It started off, we got in a hole. We had an interception.
We went through a whole bottle of Fireball to prove
we
it.
Sure said every time we scored a touchdown, we didn't think we would even sniff it. But you had the interception by Bryce. You had the fumble by Etienne on punt returns, which is another hole that the Panthers need to fix is kickoff and punt returns, because we haven't had a good one in about 3 years. I'm
going to tell you what. Go ahead. You finish your thought.
Well, I was going to say, again, linebackers and pass rush, not only do we know it, but Dan Morgan and Canales knows that's two holes that they got to fill, and that's got to be on your top priority. Swing it back over to the offensive side of the ball with Bryce, because I do think that we do have to have a damn good defense, right, as part of the puzzle for Bryce to be what we want Bryce to be, right? The defense has to be really good. On offense, one thing that we come out of this game knowing is this. We knew Tet, just watching a rookie receiver this year, the only rookie receiver in football to go over 1,000 yards, we knew we've got a player in Tet, right? And he had another good game, 5 for 81. We knew that Coker was going to be good, right? He missed the first 4 or 5 games with an injury.
Coker has been another surprise, and you've been hot on him all year long, right? And I know that injuries, trying to get Leggett as the, last year's number 1 draft choice involved a little bit more, was a part of the process. And, I think that he played himself away from favor, obviously, because he doesn't know, how to line up
just
on sides.
Mistakes.
He doesn't know where he's at on the field.
And drops.
He doesn't think very well when it comes to, the routes that you're supposed to run and what defense they're playing, because receivers have to be on the same page as the quarterback. When they go back and they see a player react a certain way, they know that they're supposed to react in a different way.
Yeah.
And the action that they do is going to cause a reaction from me with the route I run. And the quarterback has to know where that guy's going to be, and he has to trust him. Can't trust a guy that doesn't know where the hell he's supposed to be. So that's where you start seeing a guy like Coker come in and really step up. Big guy, 6'4", runs really, really well.
Yeah.
And he started making some plays. The more opportunities that he had, the more opportunities that he showed that he can play in this league.
Yeah, and so the Panthers going into next year know they've got their 1 and 2 wide receivers. Canales, they asked him after the game, he goes, Tet and Coker are our number 1 and 2. And there's no doubt. An interesting stat I saw, Coker had 9 catches, 134 yards, and a touchdown. If you look at all the receivers that were taken, and remember, undrafted rookie free agent. If you look at the guys that were in the 2024 wide receiver draft class, Keon Coleman, Brian Thomas Jr., Xavier Legette, Odunze, McConkey, they had combined 9 for 141 and a touchdown. So Coker, his numbers were the same as all those other guys combined in these games this weekend. And so we've got a diamond in the rough there. We see the Rams with their diamond in the rough, Nakua, who they drafted in the 5th round, who's turned out to be maybe the best receiver in football. So you look at Bryce, you go, okay, we've got 2 good receivers. They've got to add an explosive receiver. I know you've talked about that this year. We've got to add a guy that can stretch the field.
Well, I mean, it just showed up at the end of the game. J.C. Horn, may have the speed and quickness and stuff like that, but he doesn't have the reliability, right? And listen, they told us as players all the time, and we see this as coaches all the time. You get one chance to shine, right? And what are you going to do with those opportunities? That's can make or break you. Right? You're not going to get a multitude of chances, especially as a player, knowing where you're drafted on the totem pole. First rounders are going to get more chances. Legette's going to get more chances than Coker. But when Coker steps out there and has an opportunity to make a play because he's an undrafted guy, what does he have to do?
He's got to show out.
He's got one chance to shell out and make a play. If he squanders that opportunity, it's just like, okay, there's just another guy.
He's an undrafted free agent.
Yeah,
it ain't going to matter.
It's just another guy. We're not going to continue to give that guy opportunities, right? So, the same thing with J.C. Horn. He has the chance to extend the game and potentially come out the other side, but he can't catch the ball. And it wasn't a bad ball.
You're talking about the
very last play of the game.
Oh, you're talking about Jimmy Horn.
Jimmy Horn Jr.
Yeah,
J.C. Horn. Jimmy Horn.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Jimmy Horn.
Oh,
Jr.
yeah, hit him right in the damn hand.
I mean, it hits him right here in stride. And, I'd go play with my 8-year-old son, pitch and catch all day, and I get upset at him when he drops that.
Yeah.
Right. So
that was right in both hands. And, that would have extended the drive. I think there would have been 14 or 15 seconds left. We would have had a great chance to get field goal range. So that was an awful drop. And again, so I think a third receiver is a hole. And I think it's got to be a fast, explosive receiver that they need to add. Running backs, I thought Chuba ran the ball pretty well. Dowdle is going to be a free agent. He'll be gone. The fact that that showed us all we needed to know in this game, the fact that Chuba was the feature back. And I think a lot of us have been calling for that anyway. Dowdle had a 3-game stretch where he was unbelievable. And then he really hadn't done much since then. And like I said, he's a free agent. He'll be gone. So we get Brooks back. Hopefully he's healthy after the 2 ACLs. The kid's, he was the best running back in that draft. He's explosive. If he still is, time will tell. But we need another running back as well. I think we all agree on that. And then safety, we talked about Nick Scott. We've got to fix that spot, and that's just part of fixing the defense. But my point is, this Panther team and Bryce Young, we see the holes that we have to fill, and there are a lot less holes this year than there were last year and the year before that. So Dan Morgan's done a good job in the offseason through free agency and through the draft of plugging these holes and finding some diamonds in the rough. Nick Scorton, our 2nd-round pick this year, he's had a hell of a rookie year at defensive end, and I think he's only going to get better. So they've got to fix those holes. But going into next year with the salary cap room that we do have, with the draft collateral that we do have, you got to feel pretty good about this Panther team. And if they do fix those holes, then I think Bryce can be an effective winning quarterback, but it does take a lot of those things around him. In this game, he did face adversity. Like I said, the interception, the fumble by Etienne on the punt. We got behind early in the game, 14-3.
14-0.
Most people were texting me
14-0.
14-0. And people were texting us going, "This game's over. It's gonna be a blowout."
Well, I thought the same thing. It's geez,
but that's the thing, and this is where I have to give Canales credit, is that one thing about this team is that they're gonna fight. And they're going to fight, and they've got limitations and they've got holes. And at some point in time, you always say it, at some point in time, talent takes over. Not, coaching helps and all these other things help. But at the end of the day, players, if you've got the better players, you're usually going to win. And it's funny because when I watched the playoffs, I saw the same thing with a lot of teams, like the Bears, for instance. The Bears got there a little early, right? Their season this year came out of nowhere. Caleb Williams is the lowest completion percentage in the NFL, but in the 4th quarter, the dude looks like freaking Pat Mahomes back there. Their defense is not very good. they got there a little early, so they've got holes. So to me, I saw a lot of that. The Patriots is, I mean, look, the Chargers defense played their asses off, and the Patriots spent $100 million this offseason on bringing guys in to plug the holes they needed to fill, and they still have holes that they've got to figure out. But you see that they are so close to being really good. You see now they've got Drake May, which is a whole different ballgame, right? I mean, that guy's going to be the face of the NFL the next.
He's damn near there.
Yeah, he's damn near.
Him and Mahomes are the two guys.
He's damn near there now. And so, but I the one thing I'll say is after that Panther game, as disappointed as we weren't angry and mad like we would have been if we thought we should have won like we were the better team, or we all walked away going, you know what? Everyone picked the Rams. Everyone thought we were gonna get the hell beat out of us. Everyone said we backed into the playoffs and we only won 8 games. All those things. We showed well, and watching the commentators after the game and then all day yesterday, it was great to see a lot of them say, you know what? I wasn't sold on Bryce Young, but man, I am now. The guy can win games in the NFL. And none of them are comparing them to Mahomes or to Josh Allen. Like I said, there's a handful of those guys, but everyone said that after watching that game, he did a lot of good for himself. This team, Canales even got a lot of praise for the way this team fought, and we're even in this ball game because, like you said a minute ago, the Rams could be the best team in the damn playoffs. I mean, again, who knows? Their secondary, I think, could be their downfall. But they have to go to Chicago, where I was just reading when they play there next week, it's going to be like -8 degrees or some crazy temperature like that. And dome teams from LA don't generally play well. We saw the Chargers last night.
They play defensive. I mean, the Chargers were damn good on
their defense was great, no question. So, we'll see what happens with that. But I walked away from it saying, all right, we knew going in that we were an offseason away from being really good, hopefully, if we have another good offseason. And after the game, I think we all felt a lot better about the future of what Bryce can do, what Canales can do, and what this team can do. We got to nail the offseason, right? And so far, I think Dan has done a good job of that, through free agency as well as a draft. So we'll see. But I felt better as a Panther fan after, and I felt a lot better about our receiving core. We still need one. We still need one explosive guy. Our running backs, we got to add to that room. And the one position I forgot, we got to get a pass catching tight end. I mean, we got to.
He was the third lowest graded player.
Yeah, I mean, we Tremble's gotten better every year, but Tremble needs to be our 2 or 3. We need to do that you can count on to catch the ball. I love Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon. I think the kid's a beast. He's fast, he's big, he can catch. And now that we're picking at 19 in the draft, that's the area that Sadiq is going to go. I did some mock drafts just to see, and he was there.
Don't have a quarterback that can throw the ball in the middle of the field.
Well, you know what? Here's what I'll say.
If you're going to draft a tight end, but you're going to have all this talent there that's running down the middle of the field.
Would you agree that to me that's still 100% unknown because he has nobody to throw to.
We've had 3 years,
but he has nobody to throw to.
We've had 3 years to see a 5'10" guy try to throw over 6'6", 6'7" with their arms up.
But who has he been able to throw the ball over the middle?
Doesn't matter.
We don't have anybody.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, when Tech goes over the middle, he's been nailing him. He's 6'4".
They don't even look at those routes because it's not that. Those are crossing routes. Those are clear routes. He doesn't have a play action, throw the ball over the middle of the field because he's just not big enough. He doesn't have that 6'5" frame with the release up here. His is going to be down here where the guys that are tall and big are going to be, creating that shield. And I'm just sorry. It's not his fault. It's just the limitations that he has. So getting a tight end that's going to, be able to run down and get some space in the middle of the field is not going to do us any good.
I disagree. I think that I don't disagree. I don't disagree 100% with your point about his size affecting. I don't disagree with that necessarily. But what I do disagree is if we've got some guys that get open across the middle, I just think that we will see Bryce do a much better job with weapons. He just hasn't had any to do that with. I think you'll see Canales' playbook open up a little bit. You're right. It's never going to be a drop back play action across the middle. We need
explosive receivers that can get separation one-on-one, right? That's what we need. We don't have a guy. We thought Jimmy Horn Jr. was going to be able to be that guy that can run a route and get off of a jam and create separation. We don't have a guy that's going to, run a route and get separation across a field because we're running picks up the middle. Because we don't run those routes. So we have a lot of guys that It's going to be throw the ball into seams, jump ball. It's going to be, when you're one-on-ones, press, get off, 10-yard pass, 15-yard pass. Bryce throws the deep ball very well.
Yeah.
Right. But if we don't have anybody to take advantage of it underneath, they're going to just drop back and continue to play in coverage and bracket those guys with the underneath guys and let those underneath guys make the catch because they're 4-yard passes. Most of his passes that he's going to get, to the underneath are going to be dumps to the outside. They're not those running backs that are coming out of the middle. Like you look, Christian McCaffrey, right? His forte is called a Texas route. He fakes the outside, comes in, inside, finds that zone. But that's a timing route. 1, 2, 3, throw the ball where he can shake and miss. We don't have those types of players because our quarterback can't make those types of throws.
Well, I still think that if we add some weapons around him, it will allow the playbook to open up a little bit. I don't disagree that
I think we need to solidify our defense before we start worrying about
100%. And that's why if we have a first pick, or when we do pick at 19, even if Sadiq is there, and as much as I love the kid,
right,
the mock drafts I've seen so far have us taken the defensive end from Texas A&M or the defensive tackle from Clemson. So you're totally right. They've got to fix the defense first. If we had a great defense this weekend, we're moving on. No question about it. I mean, we would be.
Even if we have a good defense.
Yeah.
If we have a safety, if we have one safety, if we have another cornerback that can back up or play nickel, now we're moving on. But when J.C. Horn goes down, our drop-off is so bad.
Yeah.
They're going to expose that. They're going to look at where is he at. Let's find him and let's throw the ball at him and take advantage of that. That's what good offensive coordinators are going to do. They're going to find your weakness and they're going to exploit it over and over and over.
George, we have my son's dog in here whining. George, stop it. Are you disagreeing with what we're saying?
He doesn't like it. We're too loud for him.
He likes Bryce. So anyway, the good news is this, and even the cornerback spot, when you're a young team getting to the playoffs a little earlier than expected, your depth is obviously going to be a place where you need to improve, which it was improved this year. That's why I felt we're a year away. I think next year, this
more
team.
Than a year away, buddy. And here's why.
I'm not talking Super Bowl. I'm talking about a year away from just being a damn good team.
Consistent.
And not win, lose.
The good news is we have a chance. I do feel like Bryce got to a point where we can trust him. The problem is going to exist is when you have to pay him. Now, what are you going to do? Because he's not going to be a guy that I give a big, $100 million contract to. I'm sorry, he's not.
Well,
I wouldn't do that. I would let him walk before I give him $100 million. And I would try to build my team around them and then go find one of these, get lucky in the draft. I'm going to give you a good example. If the kid from Arizona State is there when we pick, right?
When he comes out in a couple of years.
When he comes out, I mean, why wouldn't he be there? If there's another quarterback that you love this year that's going to be there when the Panthers pick, where are they picking? Like 20?
They pick 19.
19?
Yeah.
They're picking at 19.
And they're not going to take a quarterback in the first round. But
let me ask you.
Well, definitely not in this draft. There's just not as many quarterbacks. You could take Simpson from Alabama then maybe.
If one of those guys drop, are you going to consider taking those guys?
Not in the first round.
Because you only have 2 years left with Bryce.
Well, you have 2 years left paying him the rookie contract. So you've got 2 years more to see what he's got. To me, if you do anything quarterback wise, which it would not surprise me if they take one because Dalton's old too, so they got to get it back up anyway. The one kid that I've talked to people about, and I've not been extremely high on him in college, he makes plays where you go, damn. And then he makes plays where you go, damn. He's one of those guys. But he's 6'5". He can run like a deer, and he can throw the ball as far as anybody. And that's Drew Aller, the Penn State quarterback. Now, he's the guy they say could be there in that third, fourth round area where I would be all for taking a chance on him, getting him in here this year. So you do have 2 years of development.
Well, a lot of people had him coming out as the number one overall guy this year.
Yeah.
Coming out last year, they had him as the number one guy this year.
Yeah.
And because of his play and because of the things that have gone,
then he got hurt.
And he got hurt. He's fallen for sure. So yeah, that's when you get an opportunity to take a first round talent in the third round.
George, sorry,
and that's so good. That's okay. He's a big boy. He's missing his daddy.
Man, he is. Still needs to get his ass back in here.
Yeah, I know. He's a little sad, a little separation anxiety that he's got over there. But when you have a talent that drops like that, that's where you make money. That's where you pick the best player available, right? And even if it is a quarterback and there might be needs for somebody else, you take that opportunity to jump on that. And you know where you can go fill those other holes? in free agency.
Right. And I think that they have and I looked at the free agents available this year, and there are some really good linebackers available. Dean from Philadelphia would be one that would be perfect fit here if we're able to decide him away, and he's going to get paid. But there are some good linebackers. There are some good edge rushers. Now, we're not going to pay Hutchinson or one of those top-notch guys $100 million. That's just not in our
number
one. There yet.
Our number one priority in the offseason should be shore up the middle of this defense.
Right.
Young, strong, physical, athletic leaders.
Yeah.
Ohio State, go get Styles and put him there and let him be your.
And he could be there.
And let him be your Luke Kuechly for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Let him be your dominant player that can rush, that can drop. He's 6'4". He can run like a deer. You put him in the middle of the defense. He can tackle sideline to sideline. Instantaneously, you've gotten better. Yeah. And then you're the second round pick, you go get another safety. And now in the middle of the field, ain't nobody throwing in the middle now because it's going to be tipped or picked or blown up. Yep. Right? I go get a hard-hitting safety that can cover the pass, that can come downhill when those safeties or the receiver. Puka Nacua comes across, he's getting lit up.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have that right now. There's no fear of God in any of those guys when they go over the middle. Like, this can be easy catch.
Because our linebackers are 2 feet behind them.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I'm going to have the opportunity not just catch this, come out the other side because I'm going to be running full speed because I'm playing pitch and catch with my quarterback. I have no pass. Then I look at the free agency, the kid that we should have had this year, and I don't know that we talked about that I would have liked to see here was Hendrickson from Cincinnati.
That's what I meant earlier. Yeah, Hendrickson. Yeah, I mean, and listen, he's a free agent. I mean, last year
I thought
Bengals franchise tag him.
I thought he was a guy that we should have made a move for, and maybe they'll do something like that this year. You have to pay for those guys, obviously, but
Max Crosby's a guy that a lot of people think is going to get traded. But you know what? You're going to have. If you get him, he would be perfect, but you're going to be giving up at least your first round pick this year. And so how much draft capital as a young team that needs a lot of holes, you're going to give up to just fill one. So I don't see that.
I'm looking at free agents. I'm not going to go get guys that are already on contract.
Yeah.
I'm not, if Crosby, I thought that he was becoming a free agent. If he's on contract, I'm not giving up first round.
You'd have to give up
I'm not going to give up players that are going to help me long term to go get a guy that is, towards the end of his career.
Right.
I'm just not going to do that. Not with this team. Other teams that are ready for the Super Bowl, I can understand why. If you're playoff ready, if you're the Jags, if you're, you got a quarterback that's under contract, you're close. You just need this. If you're this team and the Bills and you just need another pass rusher, you go get that guy, right? And you give them whatever you need because it's going to get you a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and we've seen the Rams do that. I mean, the Rams haven't had a first-round pick, I don't believe, in the last 3 years because they that's what they would do. They would trade that to get guys.
They got Vontae Adams
because they knew they were close.
The league-leading touchdown receiver in the NFL.
Because they knew they were a player or two away where we're not there yet.
And they also have a player in Puka Nacua was drafted in the fifth round.
And I'll tell you what, they also, through trades that they made this past year now, have 2 first-round picks this year, including the Falcons, because the Falcons traded up with them to get Pierce last year, which ended up being a good trade because Pierce was a stud. But you're right. So
when all said is done, Puka Nacua, when all said is done, I'm talking in the next 4 or 5, he might go down as one of the best 5th-round picks of all time, one of the best draft choices of all time.
No doubt. And I don't know if you ever saw the video of the War Room when the Rams took him. They were elated. Like they were shocked that he fell there and that he was sitting there for him. They loved him. California guys, so they obviously got to see him play at UCLA or wherever. And you're right. I mean, that dude lined up at running back, tight end, slot, outside. I mean,
he's a football player.
He's a football player. And he had and
he makes plays.
He does. And honestly, the biggest play, and Sean McVay said this, the biggest play he made was knocking that interception out of Nick Scott's hands because that's the game. You know, and so that kid is a player. And we're lucky that we found a diamond in the rough in Coker. It takes 2 or 3 of those guys. I'm sure, hell, you were kind of a diamond in the rough, right? You were
I was a 4th rounder, but Chad Cota, 7th round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, we had several of those guys, and it takes a GM with an eye for talent. It's kind of similar to what Cignetti's doing at Indiana. He knows his identity. He knows who he wants to be. He identifies football players, hardworking guys that care more about the team than they do about individual, right? And they'd rather win a championship than catch 100 balls.
Yeah, that's true.
And those are the types of guys that you win with. That's what the Patriots have built their dynasty on, right? And you look at the guys that go there, Brady is kind of the epitome of hardworking guy that creates that energy that you're going to come to my standard or you're not going to be here. the Wes Welkers, the Woodheads, all the other players that go along with that. Vrabel was one of those guys.
Yeah, he was.
Right? I can play tight end, I can play defensive end, I can go out and play linebacker, I can play running back. You know, you look at the guys that they get, they're just hard-nosed football players that love the game. They're smart. They don't make mistakes. They're consistent. They show up every day. They bring their lunch pail, and they make their team better.
And you know, Dan Morgan and Canal said that that's the kind of players they were going after. And I think that seeing the results of this season and this game against the Rams, this team fought. There's no question. We had dudes out there that were leaving their hearts.
I think that was probably the best takeaway from that game. That, and I will also say Bryce Young has made it a lot harder for me, and I'm sure a lot of other, for them, more importantly for them, to say, what do we do with this guy?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because he deserved, he played well enough to win that game.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it. The offensive line played well. Right guard got exposed a little bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and he
got hurt.
And he came back in, and I guess he was getting MRI after the game, so I think he played hurt again.
He played hurt. I mean,
we need to get him healthy because he's a beast. Icky goes down in the first series of the game, but Nguyen, who's come in at left tackle for him each time, has played great this year. So I think and he's a free agent. They need to re-sign him.
Scott played extremely well at our left guard. Our center plays well every game. I think he is.
Mays is a free agent, and you know, how much do you want to pay him? That, you know, that's the thing. That they've got some free agents that they've got a bunch of free agents, and a lot of them you look at and go, don't need them. But then you've got some like Mays who played great. Do you keep them? Do you draft another center? They did sign the practice squad center off of the Ravens during the season, who was one of the best centers in the draft last year, but he broke his leg. So you got him coming back, but you certainly don't want to go. And Corbett will be a free agent, but you don't want him at center again. And he, you know, he's good to have if you got
Austin Corbett did not come in and play very well at right guard. He's better at center. And maybe he's the backup, but you need to get Scott healthy, or he needs to stay healthy. And
you mean Hunt?
Hunt needs to stay healthy, right? And once you have that solidified inside three, our right tackle Moten is as good a pass rusher as you're going to find,
or pass blocker,
pass rush blocker as
you're
going to find. And Icky, he was coming around. He still needs some help, but you can always chip with backs out to the backfield or have a tight end to his side.
And here's the thing with Icky, you know, Icky he's at the point now where he's got to get paid. So the injury was awful timing for him. It'll be interesting to see what happens with his recovery and what the Panthers do with him, because he was well on track to get his second contract.
Well,
and now
the guy that came in behind him, I mean, he's about 6. It looks like he's about 6'10".
Yeah, he's huge.
And arms hang down to the ground, and he uses them very well.
And he played well.
He's a big body guy that has long arms and uses them, and you can win with that guy.
Yeah,
you can win with that guy very easily. At that left tackle, the question again is going to be: is it pass catching tight end, a backup running back on the offensive side, and a playmaker? And I mean, when I say a playmaker, I mean a guy that you can rely on to catch punts and go out there and make plays. Because ETN, I'm sorry, you just can't rely on it. It's not we got the wrong gene pool in the ETN family.
Well, and you know what, ETN may end up being a solid running back for this team. That time will tell, but he's not a kick returner. You're right. Like, we don't have a punt or kick returner, and we haven't in a long time.
I mean, the last thing I want to do is put Tet back there, because we at least know he can catch the ball.
Well, Coker, they worked some during the year at punt returner, so I was wondering if they were going to put him back there. I didn't want to, because you don't want one of those two guys to get hurt, because you're talking about depth. We have no wide receiver depth behind them. So
and that's where you let guys like Thielen go, and you let other players go that were capable of doing that as well, and at least fielding the ball. And I'm not making excuses for anybody. When it's windy out there, especially in Bank of America, the ball goes all over the place because it swirls, and they had gusts up to 30 miles an hour that night. But you get paid to catch the ball.
Yeah, I mean, the one ball hit him in the helmet, right in the face mask, fumble. He had another one that hit him in the helmet, same way that he held on to, luckily.
He bounced and hit him in the chest.
He's definitely not the answer there. So,
but special teams for me, and I know we talked a lot about, the offense and the defense, but that absolutely needs to be shored up, right? Our special teams all year has been abysmal. How many times did we have a illegal procedure or a false start or lining up offsides and not get corrected, right? So I think that there may be an adjustment in the special teams coach. Somebody needs to come in there to lay the law down, and that has to be something that this team wins. We've taken special teams out of the equation to some degree when it comes to the NFL. The kickoffs are you're just halfway running up.
You wait until they
make a
catch
tackle.
it.
Nobody's it's really a give up play, right? But punts and punt returns, you can change the game in those two plays very easily.
And speaking of special teams, the rookie Fitzgerald kicker had a hell of a season, so we feel good about our place kicker. Martin, our punter, had a great year. Now he's a free agent, so they're gonna have to work to bring him back, but he had a really good year. And then Isaiah Simmons, who was I think the 7th overall pick by the Cardinals years ago, has bounced around a little bit. We picked him up about a month and a half ago. Last 3 or 4 games, he's been a special team's demon. He had the block punt against the Rams. And they also said he's been working at safety because if you remember, he was a tweener, and teams didn't really know where to play him. And Canal said he's looked great at safety in practice. They weren't ready to put him out there. So regardless of whether he plays safety or not, he's a guy you definitely re-sign because he's going to be cheap. And on special teams, he's been a beast. So, but I agree with you. They've got to address that. So that's the wrap on the Panthers season. Obviously, we're going to be covering free agency.
Disappointing, but still.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of that, so if you had to give this Panther season a grade, knowing what happened last year and the year before that, where we were 2 wins and 5 wins, now we're 8 wins, playoffs. If you had to give it a grade, and we won't go player by player because we don't have time, but if you had to give the Panther season an overall grade, what would you give it?
My expectation, it all depends on what your expectations were for this team heading into this season. And my expectations, were probably not just miss the playoffs.
Vegas is over under for them. We're 6.5.
Yeah, and I think I might have taken 6 wins. They end up getting 8. They backdoored into the playoffs, which somebody had to win it. But when they got there, they showed extremely well. They won some big games on the road. Bryce showed he can win games on the road. I do feel like he has to play a little bit more in the preseason because the starts of this season are so bad. We start off so abysmal that we're always playing catch up since he's been here, since Canales has been here. Our off seasons have to change. Something has to improve with that. And all that being said, I got to go with C+, B-.
That's exactly where I was going
for this team because they made the playoffs and they showed off extremely well. You learned a lot about this team. You saw some improvement in some places. You see your holes. I think the offensive line is as good as we've had in a long time. You need to stay healthy. Defensive line, we absolutely need pass rushers. Linebackers,
100%.
We knew going into the season were atrocious. We said that after week 1.
Yeah.
And then Scott coming here, we got to get another safety.
Yeah, I agree. B-, C+ is probably what I would give, but I think that with the good offseason next year, we've got a chance to be a really good team. I'm not saying we're a Super Bowl team, but then again, it's going to be interesting to see who even wins the damn Super Bowl this year. I just saw something now that if Rodgers goes out tonight, if the Steelers lose tonight, every quarterback left in the playoffs, there won't be one that's won a Super Bowl before, which is the first time.
Not Stafford.
Correct. There'll be one. That's the one. All the rest have never won a Super Bowl. So with that being said, that kind of gives you an idea of why the playoffs are so wide open and why we saw the games that we've seen. So with one guy, if Rodgers goes out tonight, there'll be one left, and that's Stafford that's won a Super Bowl. And
that's why I think they're the favorite.
And they go to Seattle, which is going to be tough.
I'm taking the 2 best quarterbacks in the league to be in the Super Bowl. And we had this discussion with
You're going Rams, Patriots.
No, I'm going Rams, Bills.
Oh, excuse me, Bills, yeah.
Rams, Bills. And I think it'll be the Bills, Patriots. And it'll come down to who makes more plays between Drake May and Josh Allen, and who turns the ball over and who uses his leg. Drake May's a very athletic guy, as we all know. We saw it last night. He looks like he's running away from guys at times. His problem, I think, has been just his inexperience. Like there was a play last night where I think Allen pulls that and runs, or at least escapes the pocket. He tried to make a play, gets the ball batted, knocks it down. They recover, and it puts a little bit more pressure on the defense. And then McDermott's going to be it's a big year for him. I think it's if he doesn't win this next round, with this team, I think that you're looking at maybe them finding a new coach as well.
Well, that's why, as a Giants fan as well, I'm hoping they hurry up and sign Harbaugh, because if the Bills were to lose next weekend, if you're Harbaugh and you're choosing a team to go to, how do you not go to the one with Josh Allen? So I'm hoping, because I do agree McDermott could be done if they don't get it done this season. Let's talk a little bit, because we only have a little bit of time left. We got one more game left tonight. We got your Steelers hosting the Houston Texans. They get DK Metcalf back, which we saw the 4 games before he was suspended for 2. Pittsburgh's offense started clicking. They were ranked, I think, top 5 in the NFL over those 4 games. Metcalf goes out. It affects a hell of a lot more than just a passing game without him. He's going to come back now, and he's going to be pissed off. He's going to show the world that he's the real deal and that he made a mistake. And Aaron Rodgers still throws the ball as well as anybody in the NFL. The weather's not going to be too bad. We have some buddies that are going to be there. They're saying at game time it's going to be like 30, 31, but no snow.
It's supposed to be frigid.
It's
a
night
night
cold,
game,
but no snow or no rain.
I mean, you factor in wind chill. It's going to be in the 20s. Maybe the teens there. Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football with Mike Tomlin.
They don't lose.
They don't lose. A 14-0. You factor that into that. With what the Texans do on Monday night or on the cold weather games, not good. Aaron Rodgers comes from Green Bay, right? He's used to
weather doesn't bother
this.
him.
This is a warm, balmy day for him out there. This is not Green Bay in Pittsburgh.
Right.
So he's used to this. He's used to being here in these types of games. Now you go to the other side and you look at their team. They're defensively as good as any team in the country, in the world, right? And you look at their running game, it's going to be as good, and they're going to be physical on both sides of the ball. They play Pittsburgh Steelers type of football, right? It's going to come down to C.J. Stroud. He played at Ohio State, right? But he's been in Texas for 4 or 5 years now, and your blood gets a little bit thinner. That warm weather, you get a little bit more comfortable. You're playing in a dome, and here you come into Pittsburgh on a Monday night where it's going to be in the teens. It's going to be still country everywhere. They're going to have the terrible towels going. I think it's going to be a hard, physical fought game, but ultimately, I think DJ Metcalf coming back. You have the 2 running backs for the Steelers that have been incredible. One gathers out of the backfield, and
Gainwell's been great.
Gainwell out of the backfield, using him as a passer, as a split. He can run the ball, and then taking what they do running the football. The biggest concern I have, honestly, believe it or not, is losing our tight end Washington. And if they're going to give the ball to Fairmouth, he could have a big game. But Mike Tomlin's conservativeness is going to be the one thing that could bite this team in the ass.
Well, I think this game, I think you just kind of painted the perfect picture. It's going to be just a slobber knocker.
Cold. They were talking about snow and blizzard.
Yeah, it looks like that they missed that. But the thing that I think that, and I told you this when the playoffs, when the bracket came out, is that I think Pittsburgh could not have hoped for a better matchup for them for this game. The only thing that worries me for Pittsburgh offensively is the fact that Aaron Rodgers is not as mobile as he once was. And with these dogs coming after him on the Texans, I mean, they get after the quarterback as well as anybody. Will Anderson, I mean, Hunter, they got 2 Pro Bowl defensive ends. So I wonder if the lack of mobility for Aaron Rodgers is going to come into play in this game. I do think that Pittsburgh's defense, they've looked as worse as anybody, and then they've looked as good as anybody. They're healthy.
Is that a real word? As worse as anybody, or as bad as anybody?
Whichever one. Conrad was here too much this weekend. I'm just saying
as worse as anybody.
But they've been as bad as anybody. They've been as good as anybody. So I think that their defense will show up tonight. Cam Hayward has been playing like he's freaking a rookie. I mean, the dude's 15 years in the NFL, and he's playing unbelievable. So I do think, though, that at the end of the day, the Texans' defensive line and their defensive ends against Aaron Rodgers is going to be really interesting to watch, because Aaron Rodgers does get rid of the ball quickly. He's got a cannon still, but if they make him have to move, is his mobility going to cost problems?
And that's a good point
for the Steelers.
With what you talk about. You look at the 2 strengths of these teams. They're built very similar. You look at Jalen Warren running the ball. When he's running the ball and getting those yards, Steelers are a tough team to beat, because that's where you use the play action to Metcalf down the field. Yep. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to spot those throws and hit them, right away. Same thing with Fairmouth. You start getting that run game going, but the difference is now you're playing the Texans team,
right,
who are built to stop the run. That's what they do.
Yeah,
they play defense, they run the football, and they play good special teams. how much of a factor is the legs of the quarterback going to come into this? Because as you point out, Aaron doesn't have the legs that he used to. He used to be able to be sneaky athletic and
take off.
Believe it or not, I don't know if you knew this or not. I think he has the second or third fastest combine time for a.
I remember you
saying
that, yeah.
And he ran a 4.5. He doesn't run a 4.5 anymore.
Right.
And obviously you have Vic and you have Lamar Jackson, who are more athletic and faster. But Aaron Rodgers, he used to be able to flat up pick him up and put him down. He's towards the end of his career, obviously, but his arm is still there. He can extend plays a little bit, but he's not going to be what he used to. So it's going to be interesting to see, how much of a factor that running quarterback is going to be in a game like this where everything breaks down. Can you make somebody miss?
And something else that I'm interested to watch is that the two games without Metcalf, you saw Aaron Rodgers being able to throw passes that he wasn't throwing because he knew that Scotty Miller, a veteran receiver that they picked off the scrap heap, was going to be where he wanted to be. And he had two huge plays, I think, on fourth down their last game. And then our buddy that went to Minnesota from the Panthers, and then he went to Pittsburgh, our buddy that we love, Thielen. Rodgers knows that Thielen's going to be where he's supposed to be. So he can throw the ball and know and trust that those guys are going to be there. They didn't have those two guys when Metcalf was healthy.
Yeah.
So I do expect to see a different offense tonight with the Steelers, and I do think they'll be able to be effective through the air to some bit. Now, again, the Texans have two of the best corners. They have two of the best defensive ends. They got a great safety. So
the defense for the Steelers has got to step up. Jalen Ramsey, I don't know what the hell he was doing last week.
He got beat deep a couple times.
It's like, you're a veteran player and you're looking in the backfield as the zone that you're supposed to be in. The man runs right by you. You can't be selfish and try to make the big play all the time. Sometimes you have to do what's required, and that's just play the defense.
Yeah.
And he thought that he was going to get a jump on one of those underneath routes, and quarterback read it and put it over the top, hit two big touchdowns, against the Steelers. So whoever has the more big plays in this game, right, it is likely going to put themselves into position to score points, because I think they're going to be few and far between. And the field goal kickers, it could come down to that.
Yeah,
I know you love talking kickers.
Yeah, they both have good kickers. Houston -3. We said our picks on the playoff games, including the college playoff games in the last week and a half. You were 4-3. I was 2-5. Green Bay killed me on that one. They had, luckily I bet Chicago when they're getting their butts whooped to come back to save me a little bit of money. But Houston's -3 at Pittsburgh. Who you got tonight? I'm going
5-3, bud. I'm going 5-3, and I'm taking the Steelers. Undefeated Monday night. Tomlin doesn't lose in Pittsburgh on Monday night. The stage is there. Aaron Rodgers is ready. The Texans, I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park, because it's going to be a physical game, and the loser of this game may not be able to stand next week. But
whoever wins goes to New England.
Yeah, so, it's going to be that type of game. You're going to have to rest, but I think the Steelers have what it takes. That home crowd, those terrible towels, the tradition, the history. I like the Steelers in a close one. I think it's a 10-point game, but then I think they score late. It's going to be a 3-point game, so by the hook.
Yeah, I want to take Houston just to go against you to try to gain a game in this playoff run, but I agree. I think giving them 3 points, it is going to be a close game, and the kickers probably will come in. Boswell missed an extra point, a huge extra point.
It very easily could be a field goal game. I mean, in Vegas, I have to say this: Vegas, the refereeing has been spotty at best, still not great. There's been times that I think that we're a little bit more sensitive to it, you and I in particular, watching these games. Anytime a flag goes out, it looks like the ref's already has his hand in his pocket ready to throw it before the play even starts.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a flag on you on this play, type of thing. But, you have to be able to, overcome those things. And those are the way that these games are played. Whoever makes the least amount of mistakes are going to win these games.
Well, we'll be back Friday to not only recap this game, but we've got great games to talk about next weekend. We got San Fran at Seattle, Buffalo at Denver, the Rams at Chicago.
San Fran snuck.
They did. I didn't see that coming. And then the winner of this game plays New England. And then a week from tonight, we've got the Natty with Indiana, who just wore the brakes off, really, of anybody they're playing, it seems like.
They might. We will get, I'm sure we'll get into that.
And then you got Miami, and who has come out of nowhere and have played like they did the beginning of the season. One step before we go, I saw a stat that the offensive line for Miami averages 330 pounds. And the defensive line of Indiana averages 275 pounds. And they get after it, but that's going to be an interesting matchup that we'll break into.
That's the offensive line for Miami or the defense?
The offensive line for Miami is 330 average. Okay. The defensive line for Indiana is around 275.
Let me give you another stat. The Washington Huskies in 1991 averaged 265. The Michigan Wolverines averaged 310.
Yeah.
What happened in that game?
No, you're right.
They scored 3 points.
Yeah, it does.
31-3.
And Indiana's defense, they're so well coached, and
they are going to move. They will stunt. They will dart. They will outquick. Because they are tough. And I'm telling you, watch them get to the football.
Yeah.
They rally around the football. They tackle. There's 8 guys, 9 guys in the picture. When I say in the picture, look who's getting tackled and count how many players are in that picture. There's not one guy that slacks. Signetti has built into them, maybe, I don't know how, maybe shock therapy, who knows, but he is getting those guys to love this game, and they're playing for one another. And yes, they have by far the best quarterback I've seen since maybe Joe Burrow or Andrew Luck or Peyton Manning playing in Fernandez.
Yeah.
He's a savant.
He's as accurate,
and he is playing lights out. 4 or 5 incompletions in 2 games in the playoff.
I think he has more touchdown passes than incompletions.
8 or 9
2 games. It's insane. So we'll get into that game. We got time for that. But again, enjoy the game tonight. Houston at Pittsburgh. Great weekend coming up. Saturday, Sunday. Frank's already.
Here we go.
He's ready. I'm surprised he has a monster instead of a vodka something. Big.
I got to root for somebody. Damn.
Well,
Panthers are out.
I know both my teams are out, so I don't know who the hell I'm rooting for. Big D, thank you, buddy. Dylan's been working his ass off. I want to appreciate Dylan. George, thank you for the backdrop of the whining. That was good. We always like people to know.
We know when we're doing good when the dog starts whining or bad.
Good or bad.
Yeah, right.
Enjoy the games. We'll see you Friday.